Hi everyone, I'm Jen and this is my sewing room, so welcome. These are some projects that I made in July and August of 2017 that I wanted to tell you about. They're my makes, as it were. I did a little bit of sewing, a lot of taking ready-made things and changing them in some fashion or another. So I thought I would tell you about those. So let me start off with the things that I've made. The first is a top, a little top. This is McCall's 7570. I just saw this and I thought this would be so perfect for shorts because I wear a lot of shorts in the summer and capris. Here's the line art. Now when I made this, I had some issues with it. So if I were going to make it again, I would need to take those things into consideration. It's just a cute little top. And actually, I think for the winter, I may make this one or this one. Obviously, I made UB. But the issues I ran into with it were, well, before I tell you that, let me tell you that I had this fabric in my stash. I don't even know how old it is, probably pretty old. But I'd never used it, and I thought, well, you know, that would make a cute top. So finally, I did use it. It has this tie in the back. Now, the tie is attached to this back piece. And the trouble I ran into with this is that the hem on the tie is one continuous piece with the neckline of the top. And even now you can see how this neckline tends to want to droop a little bit. So that was an issue. And another issue I had was in the back of this, you can see how that droops, that back piece right here. It did a lot of that. And so what I ended up doing was pulling the part with the tie on it. Let's see if I can describe this. Here's the inside. And actually, you can tell on this side how there's a bit of an extra bit of fabric there. I didn't really do anything with it. I could probably cut it out or sew it together or something like that. But what I did was I pulled this this back piece up so that it would make it so it wouldn't droop. It just was too droopy in the back. Now, I don't know if that's got to do with the size that I made or what, but I don't know. I might want to try fitting a smaller size just to see if that would help. That might help. But the other trouble I ran into was the neckline. The neckline, with this pattern, it tells you just to turn under the edges and one or twice, I think, and then stitch them. And clearly I serged them and then stitched them twice. But if I were going to do this again, I would want to change the neckline and even put a bit of clear elastic in it and stretch that a little bit, not to make it gathered, but just to give it some body. Or I don't know. I debate about whether or not bias binding, cotton bias binding would work, because I have a feeling that it would behave in such a way that it would roll out just because it's stiffer than what the knit is. So this is just a t-shirt knit. So I ended up with the neckline. I cut it a little further down, thinking maybe that would, you know, eliminate some of the rolling out that it was doing. And it still does some of that, but I think it's wearable. It does flare out a little bit. If I were going to make this again, I might make it longer so that I could wear leggings with it. But all in all, I think other than those issues, and one other issue is that if I were going to do it again, I might want to bring these further in because my bra strap tends to show in the back, and I don't like that unless I can pull my bra straps almost off my shoulders, you know, to the point where they wouldn't show. But yeah, that kind of bothers me. So, you know, I didn't spend any money on this fabric, and so if I wanted to make it again, at least I know I have those issues. So cute top, I wouldn't call it a big success, but it was okay. The other thing I made was a muslin, just to see if it would work. I have a lot of vintage patterns. I mean, seriously, vintage, as in they came from, actually some of them in the 1940s. And so I don't use the pattern pieces. I trace them off because they're just so fragile, a lot of them. Well, I found this one, and I really liked this dress. This is an Ann Adams dress that or a pattern that you could get through the mail. In the Sunday newspaper, they would often have these, and you could send away for one and then have it mailed to you. So this went to a lady named Harold Stroop, Mrs. Harold Stroop in Springfield, Ohio. So I liked the dress a lot because I loved the way that this was cut and the way that it was put together. I thought that's one thing I love about fashion. I love the structure of a garment, the way the lines in it. I love seeing that. So this was the dress. Now, that's a cute dress. I mean, I look at that and I think, yeah, that's a cute dress. This is not cute. It just did not work. And here is a little example of what I'm talking about. And you can tell that continuous sleeve is just a disaster. No. The collar is too big. When I cut it, I didn't realize it was going to be that big, and so you really lost all the sense of a lapel. The way that these instructions tell you to put this sleeve on, and also this bit at the bottom where the skirt attaches. I know you probably can't see this very well, but where the skirt attaches in the front, all you do, and I don't know, maybe they thought this was an easy thing, was you turn down the part where you're going to stitch and fold it under, and then you just top stitched it onto the other piece. So you had no seam. It was just top stitching, and I didn't like that. And then you had these corners here where I just didn't, these are hard. They're hard. I don't care how long you've been sewing. It's hard to get a corner right. So I didn't like that. I did understitch this collar and it didn't do any good. So did not care for the sleeve. If I were going to do it again, I would do just the sleeveless version, which it kind of is sort of sleeveless. No, it's not sleeveless, but I would cut this way high to make it almost just a little bit of a cap sleeve. I think that would work a lot better, or unless you make this with a stretchy fabric, then it just would not work. And the other thing I would do is line the front and the back bodice pieces, because while I think that you need, obviously this isn't finished, while you need some stability in the front with the buttons, I think I could have cut a piece that was the shape of the facing piece and just fused that to the front so that I would have some stability with that front bodice and also with the buttons and the buttonholes, but I wouldn't have this facing. I hate facings. I really truly do. I will line whatever I can just to eliminate a facing. I think that would make the collar lay more nicely without all this turning up, and you know, it's just lining something. It takes more fabric, but it doesn't take any more effort to do it. It's just so much easier, especially if you have a serger. See, and I have this seam, which I did not serge these because this was just a muslin, but I have this seam here where you attach the side bodice to the bodice. So right there, I could just make two of the bodice and just serge it right into that side seam and it would have been fine. So no, that was kind of a disaster. It was also hard to fit. I cut the 14, which this is a size 14. And I just thought, well, no, it wasn't even close. It didn't even come close. So I cut a bigger size and hoped that it would fit. And I think it was just too big. And so, you know, lesson learned. I think that if I want to do something like this again, which, you know, the muslin clearly taught me that I don't want this dress. It's a cute line drawing, but no, not for me. But I have another dress that's a vintage that I'm working on right now that I wonder if I can get to be better, because one of the things about that is that, you know, you look at these, well, obviously the thing I liked about this was the way that the dress was structured. But if you have something that's just a basic bodice, then it doesn't matter if you go with what your pattern says, or you get a, you know, a bodice that fits you, that you know you've made from another pattern, but it's the same shape, then that would work. And I'm kind of getting to the point where I am figuring that out. So those were the two major things that I made in August. I also tried this. This is actually McCalls 7624. I made view A. I thought it looked adorable. There's the line art. And I sized it to fit me, and it was awful. So awful. Oh my goodness. And I lengthened the waistline thinking that would work, and it didn't. It just looks, oh, so horrible. So then last night I thought, do I really want that dress to beat me? Or do I want to conquer it? So I took it all apart, and I've got, you know, the front separated from the front band and everything. And you know what? I'm not sure I want to work this hard. I don't know. I may not. I don't know. I'm still debating because I have other things that I want to make. So I don't know. We'll see. Anyway, so that's everything that I made in August, July, and yeah, this summer, basically speaking. That's it for now for me. I will see you next time. Thanks for watching.